goes down the backstretch, chasing history here at the Armory. Looks up at the board one more time. Down the main straightaway. 8:25.70 is the American record. No more. American record for Alicia Monzon. Welcome you upstairs. I'm Paul Swanger, joined by a trio of icons, two-time Olympian Kara Goucher, four-time Olympic gold medalist Otto Bolden, and we have brought back the Olympic champion from London in 2012, Sonia Richards-Ross. We'll talk shorter distances to start. Big headlines coming out of Boston last week as Noah Lyles did it faster than he'd ever done it before at 60 meters.
Yeah, he definitely did. Last week in Boston, Noah Lyles came up against a guy he had never beaten at 60 meters before, the 2016 World Indoor Champion, Trayvon Bromell. He had a personal best, and after the race, we got a chance to talk to him. And here is what he said to us. But before we get to that, Christian Coleman is standing in his way this week. And who is Christian Coleman? Christian Coleman is the world record holder in this event, and maybe an even bigger challenge for Noah. But last week, here's what we said. Here's what Noah said to us.
We'll hear from Noah in a second, but Sonia, great to have you back, and we're also looking for some action at 300 and 600 meters today.
That's right. I'm happy to be back, but maybe happier to see two of America's best women on the track today. Abby Steiner, the rookie who dominated at 200 meters while at Kentucky, a world of talent and tremendous range. She's competing at 300 meters today. And from the rookie to the veteran, Ajay Wilson, who has a tremendous streak going indoors, especially here on this track. She's running today at 600 meters. Cannot wait to see what she'll do.
And as we go up to the distances, I know you're very proud of those two Olympic appearances, but you've got a couple of mile wins at Millrose, and that's part of the history of our sport.
Absolutely. The Wanamaker Mile is one of the few legacy events we have in track and field. It dates all the way back to 1926. It was the first time it was run. Every distance athlete wants to win that race and hoist that big trophy, get their name etched in there. Today on the men's side, Ollie Hoare is back to defend his title. And Paul, we hear he might be going for a world record as well.
That would be a great way to end the night as we'll begin our furious 2 hours of action here at the Armory in New York City with the women's 60-meter hurdles.
And here's Nia Ali, 2019 world champion. In fact, she won that title a little over a year after having her first child. 2016 silver medalist. She was part of the U.S. sweep in Rio.
And next to her, Devynne Charlton, who comes off a win in Boston last week.
Yeah, she looked really good in Boston last week, and she should be encouraged because she was close to her personal best as well. She made the World Outdoor Final last year.
Look at the rest of the field. The talented multi-event specialist Anna Hall, medalist at Oregon 22, and the heptathlon is in lane number 2. Just 5 hurdles on this sprint straightaway, and they crash into that barrier at the finish line. What does Charlton have to do against a former world indoor champion?
Well, I think Charlton's actually the person to beat here based on how she looked last week. Nia Ali's probably not as sharp, but she has a better personal best by just a fraction. But the race figures to be in the middle 4 and 5, although lots of women here can pull the upset.
The 115th Millrose Games begins with the women's 60-meter hurdles. And out of the blocks well was today Marshall of the United States. Now on the inside, Sharika Nelvis, but then Charlton comes through in that back half of the race. In a row here in the Northeast.
Not quite as fast as she ran last week, but she won't care about that. She has defeated all comers in these last 2 weekends. 791 officially. Tania Marshall up for second. So this looks a great start and separated early and then held everybody off late. Tania Marshall third from the left made her work a little harder this week, but the end result was the same. Devynne Charlton of the Bahamas, now 2 in a row in consecutive weekends here in the Northeast. Season's best for Marshall, the 794.
Four-time Bahamian champion, ran at the University of Purdue, and the momentum continues here in her second straight weekend of racing. 791 takes the victory over the Americans Marshall and Nelvis Nia Ali, finishing in fourth. Time to check in with the other member of our team, Lewis Johnson, down at the finish.
All right, Paul, thanks very much. Well, Devin, 2 weeks in a row, you get 2 big wins. What was good about this one today?
My finish was definitely pretty strong. I don't think I had the best start, but I'm really proud of the way I worked back. It's not usually a strong suit, and so we've just been working on that, and I think it's paying off.
Yeah, you're really pushing your name into the forefront against a lot of hurdlers who everybody knows around the world. What does a win like this mean on this stage for you?
It means a lot. I think the short hurdles are one of the most saturated events right now, and so to be able to work my way up through the ranks is definitely an accomplishment.
All right, Devin, congrats.
Thank you.
Paul?
Thanks very much, Lewis. She was an Olympic finalist in Tokyo, took the silver at the World Indoors last year, and now a Millrose Games winner here in New York. Support Team USATF and shop all the latest official Nike USATF running essentials today at usatf.org/store. Some scenes from the National Track and Field Hall of Fame here at the Armory. Another reason to visit if there's not action going on the track or in the field. They do host about 100+ events during the indoor season, a venue built in 1911. Well, we've talked about the mile distance. We'll see a couple of featured miles later on with those Wanamaker's, Kara Goucher. But here, an intriguing one. This is kind of an invitational mile, but the subplot here is a couple of high schoolers going for sub 4 minutes.
Absolutely. We see Connor Burns here. He's run under 4 minutes outdoors, but has not indoors. And his goal is to break Hob Kessler's high school American record of 3:57. He raced last week and kind of went for it, but didn't have pacemakers. Today he will have pacemakers, and he wants to see that record come.
And he will see a familiar face next to him. They did battle last week in Boston. Rocky Hansen from North Carolina.
And Hansen took that win last week when they were going head-to-head. Hansen, though, has never run under 4 minutes. He wants to get under that magical mark. Both of these men are already committed to college, with Burns going to Oregon and Hansen going to Wake Forest.
A lot of high schoolers that will appear throughout this contest. We'll see Shanti Jackson for one later on in the broadcast, but look at these competitors. A little different than what we saw in Boston, Karen, that these high schoolers are embedded with some elite pros, and they'll get the benefit of some honest pacing here for that sub-4 attempt.
And you know, Paul, that's when these fast times come, is when you're being pulled along and you're just focused on following that train. I think we'll see both of these boys run quite a bit faster than they did last week.
Connor Burns is a future commit to the University of Oregon, so he heads out west. Again, Rocky Hansen will head to Wake Forest, and they head to the line for this men's invitational mile. So 8 laps of this 200-meter track in the Armory. We're up in the Heights, Washington Heights, between 168th and 169th. Robbie Andrews will be doing the pace-setting duties, the 2016 Olympian. And when we talk about, and this will be a theme throughout this day, we're seeing some crazy fast times. At the high school level, there's only been 17 high schoolers since Jim Ryan in 1964 to go sub-4 indoors or out, and 5 of those times happened last year.
Yeah, I mean, the sport between surfaces and shoe technology, we're at a new level, but there's still something magical about that 4-minute barrier, especially, I think, at the high school level. It still is quite rare, and even though we saw a handful last year, it still marks you in legacy.
So Andrews being instructed to go We welcome you back inside the Armory. We do apologize for some of the technical issues we had there during that international men's mile, but we get set for the straightaway sprinting at the 60-meter distances. Otto Bolden rejoins me here. You look at the world and American records, and let's meet the field. They'll have 9 women in this field from the finish line side to the far side, where we begin in lane number 9. The former world record holder in the outdoor 100-meter hurdles, Kenny Harrison, getting some reps without the hurdles here in the 60. She'll run in lane number 9.
She made a coaching change in the offseason, now coached by Bobby Kersey. Here's Shanti Jackson, the U.S. national record holder in this event. She's also the daughter of Rashawn Batman Jackson, the 2005 400-meter hurdle world champion.
Set that high school record in this race last year. Micaiah Briscoe next to her in 7, the silver medalist from last year's World Indoor. She's won the last 2 U.S. titles at this distance indoors.
Here's a U.S. champion at 100 meters outdoors, Melissa Jefferson. She was on that world champion 4x1 in Eugene. In fact, she led off that gold medal winning team.
Last year, she was 1 spot off of making the U.S. team at 100 meters. The 19-year-old Tamari Davis from Gainesville, Florida. She'll run in lane number 5.
Here's the favorite, the world leader at 698. 2002 world champion. She was on that team with Melissa Jefferson in the 4x1 that got the gold for the United States.
What a long road back from injury for Mary Beth St. Price, and it paid off in 2022. Earned the bronze medal at the World Indoors. She's got a phenomenal start and could be in the mix today.
Barnes of the USA will occupy lane 2. She was 3rd behind only Hobbs and Micaiah Briscoe last weekend in Boston.
And the Rio Olympian, 2 times a U.S. champion. She'll get a nice hand from the crowd here. She's from nearby Voorhees, New Jersey. English Gardner in lane number 1.
So, Paul, I want you to pay attention to something. Micaiah Briscoe in lane 7. She would have had lane choice as the highest finisher from World Indoors last year and the 2nd fastest personal best in the entire field. I feel like she's moved over to 7 to get away from her training partner, Aaliyah Hobbs. I feel like she wants to run her own race out here and not have Hobbs key off of her in this race. So we'll see if that changes anything, because Hobbs has looked unbeatable so far this year.
Yeah, that sub-7 time that she ran, again, as Otto mentioned, the fastest time in the world this year. She hadn't run PBs in this event for, what, 4 or 5 years. So it's found some good training here in the block.
Yeah, when our Lewis Johnson asked her about that, she said, the reason why I'm running so well, I'm healthy for the first time in a very long time. So Hobbs the favorite in 4. Look also for Briscoe in 7. Tamari Davis is in 5. I'm curious to see how she looks here as well. The high schooler, Shanti Jackson, will be 2nd from the top in lane 8.
Jackson, 17 years of age, set the high school record in this race last year. The women's 60 meters from Millrose. And St. Price right alongside Hobbs getting away, and it was a good start out in 7 for Briscoe, but now coming through once again, Aaliyah Hobbs, rinse and repeat as she wins another indoor 60.
Yep, and the flash time is 7:06. We await the official. It'll be close to that. 7:04 for Hobbs. So she has been very consistent this year. 7:0, 6:98, 7:0 last week, and then another 7:0 to back it up. Tamari Davis, glad I got a mention of her because she was 2nd in this race. Briscoe was 4th, and you talked about St. Price. She got up for 3rd in 7:11. So normal service resumed. But Hobbs had to work a little bit harder this week than she did last week in Boston. But the result's the same. Hobbs continues her undefeated streak at 60 meters so far in 2023.
Well, and the great thing about track and field, you got to look down the list to make some news. In 5th, Shanti Jackson, a new high school record for the 2nd consecutive year, 7:16. And Lewis Johnson's with our winner, Aaliyah Hobbs.
What consistency we've seen so far, Aaliyah. Why have things gone so well for you week after week and once again here in New York?
I've been healthy. I've been in that weight room, as you can see. Now I'm way stronger than I ever been. So that, me being healthy, putting the work in, is paying off.
How do you take this indoor season where you're running so well, find a way to manage it or break things up in the end, in between, and then reduplicate outdoor when things matter most at the U.S. Championships, hoping to make a world outdoor team?
Keep doing what I'm doing. Make sure I'm getting treatment. Don't do too much. Don't do too little. And we're going to get it going to outdoor.
All right, we'll see you then. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Thanks very much, Lewis. Win for Aaliyah Hobbs. Next on the track, Noah Lyles, who last week made a bit of an arrival as I bring in my fashion expert, Sonia Richards-Ross. What do you think?
I got to tell you, I absolutely loved it. A little Prada last week and a little Gucci Adidas collab this week. He's bringing it on and off the track. I love it.
Back in the Armory after a wardrobe change, Noah Lyles set to race in the US ETF men's 60 meters.
And we flash you back to last week in Boston. He came up against Trayvon Bromell, the 2016 World Indoor Champion. He had never beaten him before. There's Noah in the spot. Trayvon is third from the left in the orange. So you see Trayvon, great start, accelerates away, but Noah catches him just at the end in a new personal best. And after the race, we got a chance to talk to Noah Lyles.
I mean, last year I moved up here to 6:55, and now I'm moving into 6:51. You know, I think we all saw the difference that made. That's 19.5 to 19.3. So now, what's that, 19.3 to a world record? Wow. Double? Incredible. No, we're not just coming for the 200-meter world record. We're coming for all the world records.
And the reason why Noah is so excited is that for a long time, he couldn't get under 6'7" for the 60. You see that graphic on the top, 6'76". Last year, he improved by 0.2 of a second, also improved by 0.2 of a second in the 200 meters outdoors. That got him the American record. So when he came to Boston and set that personal best, he's excited not just for his 60, but for what it means for him outdoors. And who's standing in his way this week? The guy I think is probably the best ever in this event, Christian Coleman, the world record holder and the 2018 World Indoor Champion.
It's a good head-to-head battle. He set that world record when he won the World Indoor title back in 2018. You look at the rest of the field. Josephus Lyles, who actually beat his brother a couple of weeks ago, did not make the final in Boston. He gets another shot at his brother in lane number 2. And in lane 6, the towering figure you see there is someone that the Gamecock Nation is very excited about. Nicholas Harbor is going to be a football player at South Carolina, to be one of the fastest prep high schooler sprinters in the country this year.
Well, he's not going to be hard to spot. Imagine being 6'5" in high school and your personal best is 10:22. I'm going to go out on a really small limb and say this kid is going to be playing on Sundays after he's done at South Carolina. He is an amazing athlete. He's also the national leader for high schools, but he has his hands full here with the world record holder Coleman and Lyles.
What an experience to get in the blocks next to Noah Lyles, the American record holder outdoors at 200 meters, going against the world indoor record holder at the 60 meters, Christian Coleman.
And high schoolers showing a little bit of nerves there.
Just trying to break the tension.
But he did it the right way. Raise your hand and let them call the race up completely. And listen, we've already been shown, they've been shown the green card, so yeah. Usually you want to put your hand up before you flinch, but they've already been shown the green card. So this kid is one heck of a football player. And there are a lot of people who know lots more about football than we do that said he could be a potential future #1 pick in the NFL.
So should they just penalize him 5 meters?
False start, 5 yards. Replay the down. So he'll be in 6, Coleman in 4, Lyles in 5. I have to tell you, I know Coleman has the world record, but you have to like how Lyles has looked this year. Certainly the way he looked setting that personal best in Boston. And both of these two on your screen know exactly how this race is going to play out. Lyles knows that Christian Coleman is a better starter, but he knows that he can get the better of him if he takes his time.
Lyles ran 6:51 last week. What will he do in New York?
Oh, lots of flinching by Noah. Lots of flinching by Noah in that particular attempt at a start. The question is, like his brother Josephus last week in Boston, is that enough to disqualify Noah Lyles? And Noah has a look on his face as though he knows that he's in danger of that happening to him right here. Look at how much. Just put your eyes on lane 5 and look at how much Noah's moving here. This is set. Yeah, see, that kind of flinch got his brother thrown out in Boston. We'll see. A lot of people here to watch this race, though. Pressure on the starter. Pressure on the officials to keep this guy in the race, I think. And they're still conferring.
And what are they looking at, Otto?
They're looking to see if maybe he preceded the line before the gun. And they're also looking to see if... Oh, yeah, he's looking over at them, too. They're also looking to see if maybe they have an official reading on his reaction time, because if that reaction time is under 1/10 of a second, then they really have the grounds to throw him out. And if you're asking yourself, why this kind of a flinch from Noah, it's because he's next to maybe the best starter in the world next to him, and he knows, I have to respond to this gun if I'm going to have a chance to win this race. And somebody's getting disqualified, and it is Noah. So in consecutive weeks, the Lyles brothers have been disqualified, and listen to the crowd. So it's possible that maybe, and this is a uniquely American thing, that he's going to run under protest. And I think that's what the crowd wants to see.
And here's a situation where the crowd just wants to see him run.
Right. They don't care about what the official results are, and maybe when it's all said and done, the official results will indicate, well, we know they're going to indicate that Noah Lyles was disqualified, but they still want to see this matchup.
And on a different stage, when it matters for a national championship or a berth on a world team or a berth in the Olympic Games, play by the rules. Let's give the fans what they want, and they want to see Coleman versus Lyles, and they're going to get it here.
So that can either really rattle you or it can incentivize you. We'll see which one it does for Noah.
And this time they get her away. Coleman a step ahead of Lyles, and he gets that top end speed, but he's not going to catch Coleman, and he delivers a quick one, sub 650. It won't be the fastest time in the world this year because Trayvon Bromell ran 6:42 yesterday, but Coleman likes that. They've had a bit of a rivalry, he and Lyles, and that rivalry continues here. Lyles just off his lifetime best as Travis Williams finishes third in 6:59.
Yeah, this was a great run by Coleman. It's a facility record, and he was never really troubled because Noah did not get a good reaction to the gun and just ran out of track. So Coleman will go back home thinking, okay, I think some of my mojo's back. I didn't have a good year last year, certainly not outdoors. But if he's running 6'4", he's looking more like the Christian Coleman that we're used to seeing. The world record is 6:34, and you see him gesturing as if to say, I'm not done just yet.
Well, a lot of being made of Lyles wanting to go 100, 200 double, and maybe Coleman on behalf of the rest of the 100-meter guys saying, not so fast. A win for Christian Coleman here in a new facility record, and he's with Lewis Johnson.
Christian, just take us back to the sequence where we had the hand raised by the high schooler, then the false start, and then your incredible run.
I mean, that's just, you got to be a professional in those moments. Try to stay composed, stay relaxed, and stay locked in. And just execute your race plan.
After all that, how did you get another just rocket start and then hold on as Noah Lyles was trying to close behind you?
Just stay composed. You know, he's a great competitor. You know, I knew he would have some closing speed, so, you know, just stay focused on what me and my coach talked about and try to get to the line first.
All right, Christian, thank you. Winning again on the big stage here at Millrose. Paul?
No stranger to big stages. He was the world champion outdoors in 2017, the world record holder and world indoor champion in 2018. And Noah Lyles goes home with a runner-up finish as Coleman delivers the win. Been a warm couple of days in New York, but it's still good atmosphere indoors for track and field for the Armory as we go up in distance to 800 meters. Tanya Richards-Ross joins Otto Bolden and I for the call of the men's 800 meters. And in this race, it features another Olympic medalist, Clayton Murphy, who was the bronze medalist back in Rio in 2016.
That's right, and we talk a lot about moms on the track. Well, how about this? Clayton Murphy, who married sprinter Ariana Washington in 2019, welcomes his son, Cash, in October of 2022. Unfortunately, Cash was born at 27 weeks and spent 65 days in the NICU, but he's healthy and he's out now, and you know that Clayton now has another reason to step on the track. He always has this confidence and this swag that he brings to the track, and now I'm sure that's emboldened by being a father.
I assume Cash is already getting recruiting letters based on that.
That's right.
Yeah. And then, Otto, how about a guy who's now training in the United States, the Kenyan Noah Kibet, at 18 years of age?
Yeah, he's still a youngster. The Kenyans very excited about him. He got the silver medal at World Indoors last year and then made it to the World Championships, where he was eliminated just before the final.
So you look at the rest of the field, includes the Mexican record holder, Jesus Lopez. Cade Flatt making his collegiate debut, #2 all-time as a high schooler, now at Ole Miss in his freshman campaign. Bryce Hoppel, the defending champion, and Isaiah Harris.
That's right. He was second at the indoors last year. He's originally from Maine, now trains in Seattle with the Brooks Beast team. They have a lot of great talent that he trains with there. Just 26 years old, young talent. I really have been excited about watching him compete, excited to see what he'll do today.
We reminded you last week that the U.S. men had a dip in form in the 800-meter event outdoors last year. So everybody's sort of looking to see who will re-emerge to lead the Americans. Of course, they have the 2019 world champion outdoors, Donovan Brazier, waiting in the wings. He will not be running indoors.
Full laps of the track here in the men's 800 meters. C.J. Jones will go out to the front of the pack here as he looks around and got to stay in their lanes for a little while here, and then they'll break to the rail. 4 laps at 800 meters, and Isaiah Harris trying to get right behind the pacer along with Hoppel up there near the front.
Yeah, from the gun, Harris looked to be the most interested in sticking closest to the pacer Jones, so no surprise to see him there. They've gone on in just about 24/7 for 200.
Yeah, and that's the trick about the 800 indoors, right? You have to really balance that speed and when is the right time to surge to be able to claim that front spot, but not give up too much to have that energy at the end of the race. And you were right, Harris decided that he wanted to be the most aggressive and still looking good right behind the pacer there as we come through 2 laps.
Hoppel in 5th now. Didn't have a good run in Boston. He looks really determined to not have a bad race this week. He is very much in the mix.
Well, Harris gonna get everyone to chase him from behind with Kibet leading that charge. A lap and a half to go, and it is a definitely...
And Hoppel's out.
Yeah, and has got knocked off stride and is back at the pack along with Cade Flatt and out of the race. So Harris and Kibet hear the bell with a lap to go. Murphy trying to get back into it. He's in 3rd.
I tell you what that did. Murphy was boxed in, and when that almost fall happened, it created a lot of space for him, but he's out of it. Here's Kibet, the youngster, challenging Harris, and now he has the lead.
The 18-year-old gets by Harris with a half lap to run. And off the final turn, Noah Kibet arrives in New York and will leave with a Millrose title at 800 meters, and it's a quick one, 1:44.97. That is the fastest time in the world this year.
Just off his PR. What an excellent race for him. He set it up just right, stayed on Isaiah's hip the entire race, and really struck at the right time to come off with such a big kick.
So here's a look at what happened to Bryce Hoppel. He's on the outside trying to get back in, and that was a deny of entry. It's like, nope, you're not getting in here, and he bailed out. So Harris continued to lead, but Kibet Sanya had him in his sights. And you talked about it. So much of indoor running, particularly at the 800, is making your move at the ideal time, and his was ideal.
It was fantastic. And Isaiah Harris should be proud. He ran a great race. It's not easy to lead for the majority of the race, and he does hang on for a great run at 2nd, but it was Kibet who had a kick that nobody else could withstand to win here in Millrose.
Yeah, Harris had been 3rd the last 2 Millrose games. He moves up to 2nd, gets a new lifetime best, but Kibet takes down the field and now sets the standard for the rest of the world in 2023 indoors, winning in 1:44.98. Noah Kibet delivers for the teenagers in New York. Coming this spring, it's the Los Angeles Grand Prix, a festival like no other on May 27th, featuring rock stars, track stars, and surprise stars. We can't wait. And a reminder for all your track and field news, current events, and behind the scenes with Team USATF, be sure to follow USA Track and Field on all social media platforms at USATF. On Thursday afternoon, the Armery hosted a clinic for 500 students, led by several pros and legends, like this man, Bob Beamon. 55 years removed from setting that Olympic record, and still the Olympic record that was the world record as well in the men's long jump. Going vertical for Katie Moon, the reigning world and Olympic champion in the women's pole vault. Her second competition since changing her name after getting married on New Year's Eve. First attempt at 15.5.5 for the Division II All-American from Akron. Last week, she lost to Bridget Williams. Williams was able to clear 15.725 today on her third attempt, but Moon finding a rhythm. She's all the way back to her full run-up right now, says she's looking for something big at U.S. Indoors next week, and takes the win here on a first attempt clearance at 15.925. Former Olympic champion Categoria Stefanidi finishing in third, 15.125. We'll have some shot put coverage on the field event side as well, but getting ready for one of the anticipated races of the day, Kara Goucher, the women's 3,000 meters, and Alicia Munson figures prominently in that story.
Monzon has been so confident this year, Paul. She came off of a great season last year where she started to take more risks and see herself as one of the best in the world. She has not shied away from the fact that she wants the American record in this event today.
And Elise Cranny says, if you want it, so do I.
Cranny was a late entrant. We know she's a great athlete, an Olympian in 5,000 and 10,000 meters. She has a lot of range. She's run under 4 minutes for the 1,500. We haven't seen her, but her entering this says she's ready to go.
As they get to the line and they're underway, the pacing here is quick. In fact, the stated pace of 8:22 is 3 seconds under the current American record in this event. It was set back in 2020 by Carissa Schweitzer in 8:25.70. And not to diminish that American record race, in the middle of the pack here, you'll see her now coming into view. Caitlin Toohey, no stranger to the Armory. She's a standout at NC State, NCAA cross country and 5,000 meter champion. She's going after the collegiate record today.
Toohey is such an impressive athlete. Paul, the pressure that is on her. She was a high school star. She's raced in the Armory so many times, but she has handled it at each level. Just a couple weeks ago, she took down the collegiate record in the mile. We know she's thinking about that collegiate indoor 3,000 meter record right now.
Started running at the Armory back in 2015 when she was a 7th grader, participated in her high school team as a youngster, kind of a middle schooler, a legend of the sport at the high school level, and she has moved up to the collegiate ranks and has elevated her reputation.
Absolutely, and there are two different pace setters in this race. We see the front pack, which is going for 8:22-ish pace, and then we see another pacer, and Toohey is right behind her, looking around that mid-8:30 mark.
That's Danny Aragon, who is pacing here. They're trying to click off 67 seconds for every 2 laps, as this is a 200-meter oval. But you can already see that breakaway group now behind Aragon of 4 women: Munson, Cranny, Hennis, and Galvan.
And they are doing really well right now, Paul. Look at how relaxed Munson is. She has decided to commit to that pace. She's not afraid to have the lead. You know, everyone's looking at her. She is the one to take down today. Honestly, she's been running so well, and it takes a lot of confidence to just go to the front and say, I know what my goal is. I know everyone else is keying off of me, but I'm going to go up there and I'm going to do what I set out to do.
So nearing 2 minutes into this race, again at 3,000 meters. Hennis behind Cranny there in third. She was an NCAA champion at 5,000 meters for NC State back in 2021.
So here we go. We're starting to see a little separation from that pacemaker there. They are 2:13 through 800 meters, they are on what they need to do to get this done.
Meantime, inside the three-ring circus, that is the Olympic champion and now reigning world champion from what he calls his static approach, Ryan Krauser. We'll get back to him in a little bit because he's trying some new things in the ring as he tries to push out both that world record indoors and the world record outdoors. But the action here at the Millrose Games at the Armory is at the 3,000-meter distance. And distance fans rejoice because the racing coverage continues non-stop while we take a break here on NBC. Back for the conclusion of this women's 3,000, Alicia Munson, Elise Cranny, and Ellie Hennis, 1, 2, and 3. What have you seen in these last few laps?
Once that pacemaker drops off, the race gets a lot harder. There's nothing to look at. You have to do the work yourself. They have slowed a tiny bit. They are a little bit off of American record pace. That doesn't mean they can't get it back. There's still 3 women left, and when we see the kicking, it could still come. But this is where you really, really have to dig deep and embrace that hurt. This is where you have to fight through if you're going to get a record.
6 laps to go with Munson driving it down the backstretch. And back a couple of places behind Whitney Morgan. That is the collegian Caitlin Toohey trying to go after that collegiate record of 8:41.60, and she's well in striking distance of that.
She is well under that right now, Paul. She looks so good, too. I wouldn't be surprised if we see her move up a little bit in these final 2 laps, but she is looking awfully relaxed and chasing that record. She has it in her sights, and is well within her means right now.
So 1,000 meters to go there as you see the stride beginning to lengthen for Caitlin Toohey. And Cranny just being patient here, letting Munson do all the driving.
Cranny's happy to sit back and see what she has over that final lap, but Munson needs to dig a little deep here. She looks so good, and she knows everyone is just using her, keying off of her. She needs to slowly start squeezing this down. If she wants this record, she needs to dig a little deeper right now and push a little bit through these last few laps before the kicking starts. This is where it's hard. You really have to find your motivation, but you can see she is starting to pull away.
And now Whitney Morgan and Caitlin Toohey moving up, trying to get within touch of Cranny. 6.5 minutes into this race.
And Paul, look, Toohey is moving up. She is not afraid to mix it up with the women. She is moving up now into 4th place, and who knows how far she can take this. She looks good.
3 laps to go. As Toohey going after that collegiate record. Munson has now made a move with Morgan into 2nd.
Munson knows what she needs to do. This has been her goal for the entire season. She saw that it was slipping away, and she decided to just start tightening those screws, picking up the pace a little bit. And we can see that it takes its toll on the competitors. But Morgan is not quitting. She's hanging in there. This will be a big race for her.
Morgan won the 2021 NCAA cross-country title a while at BYU, but now you can see it on Munson's face, digging into that track with 2 laps to go.
You know, she took a little glance up at the scoreboard. She saw the time she's on. She knows she has to have the last quarter of her life, but we know that she's been training for this moment.
That last lap was 33 seconds. She has picked up on this last 100. So winding it up, and let's see if this crowd here at the Armory capacity will go to their feet as she will hear the bell and go after that American record of 8:25.70.
And it's so interesting, Paul. Even when she's running as hard as she can, she looks so relaxed. Again, this has been her target all year. It's coming down to this last 150 meters.
32.80 on the last lap as Munson goes down the backstretch, chasing history here at the Armory. Looks up at the board one more time. Down the main straightaway, 8:25.70 is the American record. No more. American record for Alicia Munson. And we're waiting for Toohey as she comes across the line as she tries to break the collegiate record, and she does by 6 seconds. Americans finishing third.
Paul, don't doubt the women. They came in here with a plan, and they executed perfectly. Monzon, so much pressure, so many people talking about her, so much pressure on her to deliver, and she did exactly what she needed to do. And Tui, so much poise, always under pressure. This is why she's under pressure, because we know she has greatness. But what a race out of Monzon. And here they were coming, Paul. Monzon looked up, she knew, oh man, I got a kick for this, but she had separated herself. She had been really, really pulling through. And as she came around here, you could just see her form always looks relaxed, but if you really look, you can see she is really driving. You could see a little tension in her face, really striding out. She set a goal, and now she's the new American record holder.
Well, she won here as a collegiate at the Millrose Games for the University of Wisconsin. Made that transition to the On Athletics Club in Boulder. And now is the American record holder, who's Willis Johnson, along with the collegiate record holder, Caitlin Tui.
All right, Elise, you've had this target out for all season long. What does it mean to come in here with the pacemakers, with this environment, and accomplish this goal of an American record?
Oh my gosh, it was great. You know, we've been looking at this for a couple months now, and it feels so good to actually come and pull it off, and it was so great. It's such a great environment. I loved it.
Our Kara Goucher said you had to have the last 400 meters of your life, the last 2 laps. What did you know about the time, and how did you adjust to get it?
You know, I was looking at the times, and I kind of knew exactly what I would have to count down to, so I was just trying to squeeze it all and got it by a couple tenths. So,
yeah, how about that?
Yeah.
And right behind you, Caitlin, what does it mean for you to be behind there but on target, and you set a collegiate record here today?
Yeah, that was awesome. She's someone I look up to so much, and yeah, I know you ran the Millrose when you were in college, so I was just trying to fill in her place and come out here and run fast. I had Ellie and Hannah here, who are alumni, coach tennis, my family, so it was a great day.
It was. Ladies, congratulations. Collegiate record and an American record. Paul?
And Lewis, the top 8 places in this race, all with new lifetime bests, a Mexican national record for Galvan, a collegiate record for Tui, and the American record for Alicia Monzon. Welcome back to the 115th edition of the Millrose Games in New York, and there is the reigning world indoor champion, Jereem Richards.
Jereem Richards looked like he had a chance to win last weekend in Boston. But Sonia, he broke one of the cardinal rules, certainly in indoor running, and that is you do not give up the rail, certainly not in the finishing straight.
And usually I would punish him big time for this, but he was feeling Vernon Norwood on his outside and was trying to fight him off. Little did he know that Noah Williams would sneak in there on the inside for a very big win for him. And he's in this field today. He's a 3-time All-American while at LSU. 4th at the indoors in 2022, and always kind of on the cusp, just there, almost in the elite ranks of American quarter milers. Big wins like what he did last week really helps your confidence to get you over the hump.
And he's from nearby Rochester, New York, so in the region, and probably no stranger here to racing at the Armory. 4 men in this 400 meters, 2 laps of the track here in New York. In the first 3/4 of this first lap, they'll stay in their lanes, but this is a game of strategy when they come off this last turn, because it's a race to the rail for that first position.
That's right, Paul. And the 400 indoors is so tricky because you want to get out really, really hard, but you're off the turn so quick. You're back on the straightaway, and then you really have to push into that second turn. And what a great start for Jereem Richards, who takes the pole and is in the lead going into the final lap.
This is exactly how the race played out in Boston. Keep your eye on Noah Williams, because he's going to try to do the same thing this week that he did last week to Richards. Richards has to hold his composure here.
That's Bryce Deadman way out on lane number 2 as they come off the final stretch. Will Richards stay to the inside this time as he muscles his way this time to a victory? First to the tape and 45.84.
That's called learning your lesson from last week.
That's right. And Otto, listen, Jereem's a 200-meter specialist, right? So he has to always play to his strengths. So I'm proud of him for not saying, okay, I'm going to back off and run with the quarter milers. I'm going to run it my way, but this time I'm going to make you pay for what you did to me last week. What a strong final 100 for Jereem Richards.
And Tanya mentioned his 200-meter prowess. He has a bronze from the 2017 World Championships, does Jereem Richards. So he has the foot speed. He used it to create an advantage and then held his composure and his form to get to the line. You see him closing the rail on the inside, and he gestures as if to say, what, me worry? Last week was last week. I'm the champion here at the 115th Millrose Games.
Well, he's clearly coachable because he did it the right way this time, and the right way is always to be at the top of the race results as Jereem Richards wins and now checks in with Lewis Johnson.
Yeah, so a lot of things look similar to last week, Jereem. You got out and you took the lead there at the break, but then the finish. So how much focus did you have on making sure you protected the inside of lane one?
A lot of focus. I'm still learning the 400 meters, so, you know, it's just get better each time I run and, you know, learn from your mistakes, and that today was definitely a day I learned from my mistake.
How does racing indoor this year put things in perspective and prepare you for the outdoor year and this World Championships in Budapest later in the summer?
It definitely prepares me very, very well. I'm more of a 200-meter runner, but I have a lot of talent in the 4, so I try to get as much 400s as I can to build up some strength. So when I get into the 200 meters, I'll be strong enough to finish.
And by the way, Sonia Richards-Ross said she was proud of the way you ran today and bounced back.
Tanya, I'm so thankful. Thank you very much. I learn from my mistakes.
I love that. I love that he said that, right? He learned from his mistakes, came out here, executed, and left with a big win.
Well, Jereem Richards wins the last race of the first half of our broadcast. A great hour of action still to come. In New York. It's been a long stretch since they last seen any measurable snow, but we're still inside for coverage of the shot put here as we go back to the World Championships in Oregon last summer. Ryan Krauser, who grew up in nearby Boring, Oregon, finally wins his first outdoor world title and does it in his backyard. Now, this is his second round. We'll be following this throughout the season as he's trying some new things with his technique. He says now it's not necessarily about the medals. It's about extending these world records he has indoors and outs as far as they can be stretched before he retires. Meantime, Chase Dealey, also a world champion last year, and she is already in the lead with the longest put in the world this year, 65 8 3/4. She's been nursing her first major injury of her career, but looked very strong in round number 3. We'll check back in with the shot putters later on in the second hour of our coverage of the 115th edition of the Millrose Games as we bring Kara Goucher back in after that American record in the women's 3,000 meters. What do we get from the men, you think?
This field is extremely deep, Paul. There will not be disappointment. This year's Jordy Beamish, he is the defending champion of this event. The New Zealand record holder trains with the on group that Alicia Munson trains with that we just saw. He went from 5th to 1st in the last lap last year. If you haven't broken him before the bell lap, look out.
And another one of his teammates, Joe Klecker, had a gutsy race in Boston just a couple of weeks ago in another race that led to an American record.
Absolutely. His goal was to go under 13 minutes, and he went for running 12:54, becoming only the 3rd American, or number 3 on the all-time indoor 5,000-meter list. He's riding that high. He knows he's fit, and let's see what he can get out of himself in a 3,000.
And the great thing about distance running in the United States, it's always next man up, and Cooper Tier, one of those next men up.
Absolutely. Cooper Tier had a stellar collegiate career at Oregon. Last year, he was 2nd in this race. He switched teams. This is his Bowerman Track Club debut.
He won the 1500 meters at the USATF Championships to make his first world team there at Hayward Field, and he will slip in now to the mix here as we'll get another pace setting up in front. Austin Miller and AJ Ernst are scheduled to be doing that duties. Look at the rest of the field. Talented Josh Kerr medaled in Tokyo, and down the list, and Luis Grijalva, somebody we want to talk about. He is back there now in middle of picture, just coming across the line, but he's got a great story.
He has a great story. He's a DACA citizen. He had to get special permission to go to Tokyo, but the thing about him is the last 2 years he has really just exploded on this international stage. He's really running very, very fearlessly. He was 4th at the World Championships last summer in the 5,000 meters, just barely missing a medal, and he started off his year with a huge mile personal best. It would be foolish to doubt him in this race right now.
And if you're just tuning in, you don't watch a lot of distance running or even the indoor distance running, when you see everybody on the rail, that's code for it's fast.
It's moving. It is moving. 57.26 through that first quarter. This is a hot pace. A lot of personal bests, a lot of national records could be set through this pace.
Well, now Joe Kovacs, twice a world champion himself. New father, as he and his wife, who is also his coach, just welcomed twins, 1 boy, 1 girl, and is currently in 2nd position here through 5 rounds behind Krauser in the men's shot put. 12 laps to go now on the track.
We see Cooper Tier right in that position, right behind the pace setter. He's an awfully good indoor runner. We've seen him in the mile. We've seen him in the 3,000. He's very good at feeling himself on an indoor track, and he almost won this thing last year. If it hadn't been for Beamish's monster kick, he would be the defending champion, and he doesn't want to be 2nd again. He wants to come out here and win today.
Yeah, Beamish back at about 7th or 8th position. You see Klecker, then Grijalva and Tier, and the pace setter Ernst with 11 laps to run.
We're seeing Klecker run with more confidence now that he has run under that 13-minute barrier. He's putting himself more into the races. We know him as a 10,000 meter runner, but he's here now ready to shake it up in the 3,000.
Well, and here's the former New Mexico high school 100-meter champion, Chase Ely, as she launches to conclude the 5th round of throws, already with that field record, meet record, and longest put in the world this year. We'll have all coverage of the final round of shot putting after this race. Ernst still in the lead, followed by Cooper Tier, and there is Beamish lurking in the back just behind Josh Kerr, who likes to wear shades. Indoors or out. The racing continues here at the Armory, but you won't miss a thing. More coverage on the other side of the break. Concluding laps here for the men's 3,000 meters. 6 laps to run on the track. The pace setter Ernst out there in front. Everybody in single file line with Cooper Tier in 2nd, Grijalva 3rd, then back to Klecker, Reyes of Switzerland, and the Olympic bronze medalist from Great Britain, Josh Kerr. And Beamish, who won it last year, again, just kind of middle of that group behind, trying to chase them down. We have another collegiate in the field as well. Nico Young, he's next to last there, but Carrie, he's also in the mix for trying to break the collegiate record.
Yeah, he definitely has that in his sights. His teammate actually just broke it in January, and this is a special place for him. He broke the high school national 3K record here in the Armory at the Milrose game, so he's back, but they are all running fast in single file, and he is still running very fast right now. 20 years of age, that collegiate record. Young trying to break again. As Kara mentioned, his teammate Drew Bosley ran 7:36.42. But now Tier, Grijalva, Klecker, and Reyes with 4 laps to go. And Grijalva looks so relaxed, Paul. He just slid into that 2nd spot, and he's just happy to sit on Cooper Tier right now. He looks so relaxed, and see, now he's going. You can see he's almost chopping his stride to stay behind him, and let's see what he does now as he goes for it. And now here comes Klecker with another gear alongside Cooper Tier. And their pace had slowed a little bit. They were all sort of gathering themselves, deciding who was going to take it. And these 2 men couldn't take it anymore. Grijalva decided to go to the front. This is a tough place to be. Everyone is watching you. Everyone is gearing off of you. But like we saw with Monzon, sometimes when you know, and you can slowly start to power away. They were 31.86 on the previous lap, dropped under 30 on that last lap to 21.91. Now Josh Kerr now behind Tier into 4th. Grijalva, Klecker,
Tier, and Kerr, and then back to Reyes.
And Kerr looks good. He's moving up. As you said earlier, we know him as a 1,500-meter runner, an Olympic medalist, but he's looking relaxed at this longer distance right now. A lot of times these milers in the winter do strength training, so they get in these 3Ks to see what they can do.
And Grijalva, like we saw with Alicia Munson, looks up at that big scoreboard in the middle above the straightaway of the sprint track as he now, with a lap and a half to go, has turned this into a sprinter's race with Kerr, Klecker, Tier, and Reyes as we wind it up for the bell lap here in New York.
And Kerr's decided to go now. He's not going to wait till that final turn. He wants to see if he can get daylight earlier on in the race, and Grijalva needs to stay with him.
27.87 on that last lap. Kerr opening us up his stride, but Grijalva's not letting him go. Into the home straight. Kerr, Grijalva, and Klecker. Kerr with a look behind and a look ahead, and the bright lights of New York is nothing for a guy wearing shades as Josh Kerr takes the win in a new meet record, 7:33.47. The last lap, 26.98.
Well, Kerr opened up. That's how he got that Olympic bronze medal, was coming through the field in the end, and that's exactly what he did here today. He sat back, sat out of the fray, and then when he was ready, he decided to strike, and when he did, he went around Grijalva. There was no response, and he was able to just get away and start those wheels turning. And in this last 100, you can just see him powering away. He's not going to get caught. This is his strength phase, so this is very impressive to see this from him during this part of the season. And the meet record was held by Bernard Lagat. No slouch. That's a great victory for him.
Yeah, the 8-time winner of the Wanamaker and the American record holder in the mile, at least for now. We'll see what happens when the Wanamaker takes place. Kerr was the runner-up last year to Ollie Hoare in the Wanamaker, and he wins here in 2023 as he takes the men's 3,000 meters. Well, a lot of great memories in this Armory venue. And there is a streak that has dated all the way back to her high school days. Ajay Wilson trying to hold serve on the home track. And Abby Steiner, the future of American sprinting, up next in the 300. Now, there was a recent incident during the NFL season that had many people thinking about a moment we witnessed here in the Armory at this meet 4 years ago. And for more, here's Lewis Johnson.
It was right here on this curve, February 9, 2019, when Jamaican Kamoy Campbell collapsed while leading the men's 3,000-meter run. And what happened seconds after he falls saved his brain and his life. It was an unusual fall from the track. Kamoy Campbell went down very hard. He was not moving, and one of the first to get to him, Todd Sinclair, realized he was not breathing. Sinclair turned him over and immediately started giving him CPR. Athletes prayed as a crowd of medical professionals took over, quickly stabilizing Campbell, and Millrose fans were on their feet, cheering in support as medics rolled him down the backstretch and took him to New York Presbyterian, just across the street from the Armory. Well, 2 weeks after Kamoy Campbell collapsed, he was walking down a hospital hallway with a big smile. 1 year later, he returned to this venue for the first time to thank Todd and other first responders for the miracle that saved his life. Shortly after Damar Hamlin's heart stopped, he was also grateful for the quick response by medical professionals as well. And so there are two common threads in both of these stories, and that is CPR, which kept oxygenated blood flowing to their brains and their organs, and the AED that shocked and restarted the heart back into its normal rhythm. I have to tell you, I'll never forget the moment of standing here and watching Kamoy Campbell in that distress, and I had no idea what to do when I said to myself, I'll never feel like that again. And so I went and I got CPR and AED certified. You should do the same. Both athletes would like us all to know how to do that. Damar Hamlin put it best. He said, and so did Kamoy Campbell, you never know when you'll have to be responsible for giving the gift of life.
Thanks very much, Lewis. And a reminder to all of you watching, one of the easiest ways to find more information about AED and CPR training in your area is to visit redcross.org. We're back here in 2023 as we get set for the final round of both the men's and women's shot put. They've given them center stage here, and there's no racing that's going to happen while they get a chance to show off their talents here in the ring. So they'll take the top 3 athletes into the final rounds here. Let's start with the 3rd placer in the women's division. This is Maggie Ewan, who was a standout at Arizona State, won the Diamond League title. That's the professional circuit for the professionals here in track and field. Through the shot, discus, and did the hammer throw in college, has said that she's going to try to do some hammer throwing outdoors this year. And she gets a congratulatory hug from Chase Ely, who currently leads the competition. They'll go back and forth, so we should get a chance to see one of the first of 2 Texas Longhorns in the men's final 3. Trip Pippery, who's won a couple of NCAA titles for the Longhorns. 24 years of age. He made the world team thanks to the fact that Joe Kovacs had won the prior world championship, and if you're a reigning world champion, you get an automatic bid into the next world championship. Pippery, with his final throw here, was trying to move up in the standings, but really it was Krauser against Kovacs.
And I feel like the U.S. women have responded. The U.S. men were always so strong in this event, but when Michelle Carter won in Rio, that was the first time an American woman had won the Olympics. Since then, the U.S. women have been lights out.
Up until this competition, Sarah Minton of Canada had the longest put in the world this year.
Just save that one.
Broke her indoor Canadian record with a mark of 64.11.5 so far today, 63.2 1/4, and that will not be an improvement, so she will finish in 2nd. Has her own commentary for that one.
Big thumbs down for that one.
Yeah. So now Joe Kovacs, you know, he's got special memories when it comes to New York. He proposed to his wife in Central Park, now new parents of those twins, and you know, after almost quitting his career back before the World Championship in 2019, found that connection with his wife on the coaching side, and he's still in it.
I have so much respect for him because with a dominant guy like Krauser, since he won that title in 2019, it would have been very easy for Kovacs to say, you know what, pack it in, whatever, he's better than me. What he's done is become the 2nd furthest thrower ever, and he has been challenging Krauser every single meet, including at Worlds and the Olympics.
And I know you and Sonia and Kara were all big on all the medals that the runners for the U.S. won in Oregon, but it was a big haul for the field events, and the shot put won by 2 Americans. Chase Ely winning that world title on the women's side. She's going to win here in New York. Been dealing with a little bit of an oblique injury, so she's just been kind of tentative, but you know, that 2nd round, or correct me, the 3rd round throw of 65.8 3/4, that bodes well for her training. She's been training over in Europe, and that change really made the difference last year, and not confirmed yet, but probably the chance to maybe go compete in Albuquerque. She grew up in New Mexico. That'll be our stop next week for the U.S. Indoor Championships. Now here is Krauser, another Texas Longhorn, Oregon native. You know, some pressure for him. He was one of the faces to the Oregon 22 franchise, and he delivered on that, and now he holds court here in New York, the world indoor record holder, now the world's best shot putter in 2023 with a mark of 20 meters 03. Final effort. And playing around with this, where he starts in the ring, he says there's more risk but higher reward, and correcting his better mark from earlier in the competition was 74.1. He's starting in a different spot in the ring. We'll bring in another Longhorn, Trey Hardy, to break that down next week or in our next broadcast with Krauser in competition. Kind of a short season for the indoor season, and as Krauser has stated, he is really more now focused on extending those world records as far as he can take them in his career. So Chase Ely takes the women's shot put in a world best mark indoors this year, and Ryan Krauser does the same as he wins the head-to-head battle with Joe Kovacs.
All right, thank you. Don't want to mess up the suit. Oh, man.
And let's go down and check in with our two winners, who are joined by Lewis Johnson.
All righty, we're standing right in the ring, which seems apropos for what you guys just did. Chase, first to you. Congrats on the win.
Thank you.
Understand you're dealing with a bit of an injury, but why was it important to be here in New York and then throw very well?
Yeah, you know, I just wanted a good, confident throw leading into indoor nationals, and I've been feeling a lot better, but I'm really happy with the result. I couldn't be happier. It's more than I thought I could do today.
We mentioned that you're now training in Europe. What has been the big difference for that decision?
Yeah, I think just the environment's a lot different, a lot slower, a lot quieter. It goes better with my training and keeping me low-key.
Yeah, awesome. Ryan, I mean, you've done it all. Nationals, Worlds, Olympics, everything. And so why now at this stage have you made a change in your throwing? I think from round second to the finish, you were doing something different here in the ring.
Yeah, I've been working on a new technique, adding a step onto the spin to hopefully generate more power and hopefully throw farther. Today I did throw farther with it, which was good, but it was very inconsistent. But first me trying it, practice has been a little inconsistent, but had some far throws. So I'm happy with it overall. To throw 22.58 the first time with a new technique was good. Would have liked a little more consistency, but really, really good start to the season for me.
And are these the kind of changes that you might need to motivate yourself to continue to grind and push for those gold medals again? We've got other worlds outdoor, and you've been to all of this before many times.
Yeah, I mean, the sport is relatively simple, but the complexities are there, and so I feel like in the interest of myself, trying to better my personal best. I mean, that's what we're all out here to do. I can't control how far everybody else throws. All I can try is throw farther than I have before. So that's what motivates me to keep on going, and hopefully this new technique will lead to that.
Ryan, Chase, thanks, guys. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Pair of world champions who are already guaranteed a chance to defend their title in Hungary in August. Looking forward to this one. The next one at the sprint distance is 300 meters. And if you have not been following sort of the emerging star portion of our program, Abby Steiner is #1 on our list.
That's right, and a name I believe we'll be saying for many years to come. She had a dream indoor season and outdoor season while at Kentucky. Then she came to the U.S. Nationals Auto and did this after a very long collegiate season. She became the U.S. National Champion and was actually the highest finisher at the World Championships, finishing 5th. Why do I love her so much, though? It's not just because she's so great at the 200. Her 400-meter prowess, as well as her short speed, makes her very dangerous in this event.
So just remember, if you want love from Sonia, you got to run the 400. Here is Jenna Prandini, former Oregon Duck, stepping up from her pet 200-meter distance. We saw her last week in Boston, where she was 4th.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And here's Brittany Brown in lane 4. She's a world silver medalist from 2019. Really working hard to get back to that form and really pushing herself in distances like this.
I want to see if anybody can get close to Abby Steiner, because she has looked in dominant form so far this year.
Gonna be tough.
Steiner one lane to the inside of Prandini, so has someone to target on as they stay in their lanes here, and just a lap to go. Should mention a world record is 35:45. We'll just throw it into the mix because Steiner was kind of talking about that at the news conference the other day.
Yeah, now Steiner is reeling in Prandini, but Brittany Brown to her inside is right there as well.
So Brown going toe-to-toe with her, the silver medalist from the World Championships outdoor at 200 meters as they come off the final turn, stride for stride. Now Steiner with the strength at the end. Watch the clock. 35:54. That'll be a new indoor American record.
Surprising for me, Otto, because she was a bit conservative in the first 200 meters of this race. I thought, when is she going to turn it on? When is she going to wind it up? She has the strength and she has the speed. What is she waiting for? But she came alive in the final 50 meters and dug deep, and what a final run for her.
Good run by Brittany Brown. But Sonia told you how long her collegiate season was last year. I was looking earlier this year to see if any of those effects from that long season would carry over to 2023. She opened with an indoor personal best 50:59, and now comes and sets the American record to go along with her indoor 200-meter American record from last year. So Steiner.
And what I loved was she remained poised.
Yes.
Right? She's used to winning, but she was
Brown
under a lot of pressure by Brittany Brown, who we didn't expect to run that well. But she kept her composure, which is signs of a star.
I'm starting to feel like Oprah. You get an American record, you get an American record. The second American record of the night. It goes to Abby Steiner, who's with Lewis.
All right, guys, American record, incredible run. What were your thoughts on just the way you felt and the way you looked here in this race?
Yeah, so fun doing it at the Armory. The energy of the crowd, you could definitely feel it during the race. So just remaining composed. I felt Brittany coming up, so just making sure I carried my rhythm through the finish line.
We watched just the power and the speed you have. You can call on it when you need it. How do you continue to run so well indoor and then translate this to the outdoor season, which is where some of the other big prizes are this year?
I think just making the most of every opportunity. I've had my fair share of injury, just knowing no race is promised. So just making the most out of every opportunity is my gift.
All right, get some water and some air. Thanks so much, Abby.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lewis. What a stage for these stars of track and field. And in front of a capacity crowd, 2 American records on this evening, and we're not done yet. Alicia Munson in the 3,000 and Abby Steiner at 300 meters. Earlier here in the Armory, the fastest kids in the world, Abigail Riley of the Bahamas taking the victory, and the boy they called the baby Otto Bolden.
Oh, wow.
Unique walker.
Wait, who calls them that?
Yeah,
Otto Bolden?
I just made it up. Trinidad and Tobago's Unique Walker winning that boys 55-meter race. We're going up to 600 meters, and when you talk about the Armory, Ajay Wilson's grown up in this building.
I'm telling you, and she's been unbeaten here since 2013, includes 7 straight wins at the Millrose Games. But since 2018, she has not lost a race since she finished second in the 800 meter at the World Indoors. That's this race here where Alicia Montano won, and she finished second, but wasn't so much of a loss because she broke the World Junior record. That's the World Under 20 record. So she's just been so dominant, especially in this facility. She absolutely loves running here. You hear the crowd appreciation as well.
And here's Sophia Goriaran. Yesterday in this building, she announced that she will attend Harvard in the fall, and we've already seen a record set by Shanti Jackson. Here's a young woman capable of also breaking an indoor high school record. So she will be in lane 4 behind Ajay Wilson in 5.
Also in this field out in 6 is Shamir Little, who has tons of success outdoors at the 400-meter hurdle. She's the 5th fastest woman of all times. She's been to the World Championships 3 times. She's a silver medal. She was 4th last season. This is a very gritty, strong runner, and this is a good event for her. When you're great at the 400, you can step up and run distances like this, and she'll really challenge and give Ajay Wilson a good push at this distance.
When you're in an event with Femke Bol and Dalila Muhammad, you better be strong. So she's working on her strength.
So underway with this 600-meter distance. 3 laps of the track. They'll break to the rail here as they get around 3/4 the way on this first lap. The youngster Goriaran coming off an 800-meter race yesterday before she came to New York to announce that she was going to Harvard, and Little out in front, and ever so patient Ajay Wilson. She knows there's still a couple of laps to go.
A couple of laps to go, but you still don't want the leader to get this far ahead. We know that Ajay has all the experience, but Shamir Little is just the type to come in here, not worry about the form charts, and sneak this race. But I think Ajay Wilson will keep her close.
This is what I love about the 600-meter distance, is that you get athletes stepping up from 400 who have that speed, who are not used to gearing back, and then you have an Ajay Wilson who is more poised and paced through an 800-meter runner. But will she have enough? Looks like she will to catch Shamir Little.
It's been a decade since we've seen Ajay Wilson not finish in front of someone else here at the Armory, and now she comes along and gets past Shamir Little with a half lap to go. And Little does not have a response here in the tank on this day. The streak continues for Ajay Wilson from Neptune, New Jersey. She takes the win at 600 meters.
That's a brave run by Shamir Little. But in the end, the person who is most used to going this far and further, Ajay Wilson, was able to track her down and pass her. And she keeps the streak, as you said, Paul, going.
And what a great run for her. It almost felt like watching her win her first world indoor title, right? It looked like she might lose this streak, but there's something about Ajay Wilson and just keeping her cool when she's under pressure, especially indoors. That's always prevails. She just always finds that gear when she needs it, and it was the perfect time for her kick. Shamir had nothing left in the tank, and Ajay Wilson again victorious in this historic building.
So now 20 races unbeaten indoors, 19 consecutive races at the Armory dating back to when she was 18 years old. Ajay Wilson takes the win here in the women's 600 meters. And like she's done so many times here at the Armory, she's going to talk to Lewis Johnson.
And I'm almost out of questions for all these victories that you've had, Ajay. So how long could you feel confident letting Shamir Little hold this lead before you said it's time to go?
I wanted to start closing it in with about, 250 to go. Indoors is a little tricky, so you can't wait too late to make your kit. But coming into the last lap, I knew I felt good, and I just knew I had to close.
How do you find all the confidence or use all the confidence that you've had over the many years in this building on this track to pull off another victory and continue this unbeaten streak you have?
Yeah, for me, it all comes from training. I'm confident when I come out here to race because I know my coach, Derek, drags me in practice. So when I come out here, this is the easy work.
Alrighty. Congratulations again in New York.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Lewis. Laura Muir making her debut here in the Armory. Get set for the Rudin Wanamaker Miles coming your way next. Trophy. Ollie Hoare takes the Wanamaker. So much tradition to these last two races of the evening. You heard the legendary voice of the late Bob Hirsch, who was the long-standing PA announcer when it was down in the Garden, and Kara Goucher getting her little 15 minutes of fame, but we're going to give her even more fame because she gets a chance to call these races, and with that pomp and circumstance, Kara, it really reflects this is an iconic moment for the sport each and every year.
It absolutely is. This race matters to the men and the women who have gotten into this field and are here to run the best that they can. As I said at the top of the broadcast, there aren't a lot of legacy moments in track and field. This is certainly one of those, and every woman is excited to be here and to be a part of this history.
And not only does it attract people who try to win it each and every year, but in this case, it's attracting someone who's going to try to win it in her first year in the Armory, and that's Laura Muir.
Laura Muir has become such a dominant 1,500-meter runner. Last year, she got a bronze at the World Championships, continued a very long season, winning Europeans, Commonwealth, and then she ended her season in September running the Fifth Avenue Mile through the rain. And, Paul, we got to call that effort, and she just pulled away. And what was so impressive was, after such a long year, to show up and put down like that, obliterating the record there, it was truly impressive.
So she comes in as the favorite in this race, but you look at the rest of the field, Kara, she's going to get a test.
She is. I mean, these women are not messing around. Right there we see Josette Andrews. You might know her as Josette Norris. She was second here last year, running 4 minutes, 20 seconds, making her the third fastest American of all time indoors. She was fifth at the Indoor World Championships in the 1,500. Had a rough outdoor experience, but has recouped, is with a new team, new coach, and she's feeling confident coming into this Melrose Games.
See your next two, Gemma Reekie, who placed fourth in the Olympic final in Tokyo at 800 meters, 24-year-old.
And she actually holds the British record in this event run here at the Melrose Games.
You saw in that highlight clip the win by Ellie St. Pierre back in 2020. That is the meet record. It's also the American record, 4:16.85. Go underway with the Rudin Wanamaker Mile. It'll be the women followed by the men, and the field here following the pace setter, Charlene Lipsey, a talented 800-meter specialist, will go out into the front, and the hard-charging Laura Muir charges to sit second behind Lipsy here in the early going.
And I think we get used to seeing Laura Muir take that position right behind the pacer, but it is so hard to do so. As we saw in the women's 3,000, everybody is keying off of you. Everyone can see what you're doing. You can't see what's happening, but that's how Laura Muir runs. She just wants to go for it every time she steps to the track, and it's what makes watching her so fun to watch.
Lucia Stafford, the Canadian, now the North American record holder at 1,000 meters, is behind Muir. And then back to Andrews. Sage Herta-Klecker, part of the On Athletics Club, and Nikki Hiltz moving up.
And in that Fifth Avenue mile we saw earlier, Nikki Hiltz placed second. They had a great summer, ran a lot of miles, and finished so strong. They've been training up at altitude, had a great 4:35 mile up at over 7,000 feet. And they're coming here to put themselves in a position to win this.
Hiltz was second in the Fifth Avenue mile behind Muir. So Lipsy, Muir, Hiltz, Stafford, Andrews, and Herta-Klecker.
When you're Laura Muir, everyone's coming for you, Paul. All of these women want to get ahead of her. They want to be someone that can take her down. It's a lot of pressure, but she rises every time, and we see her leading that pack, even with a little bit of daylight there, but she always puts herself in that position. It is so mentally taxing to be in the front like that, but she's not afraid to do it.
In the midst of being on the biggest of stages in global medal competitions, the Olympics and the World Championships, Laura Muir still found time to get her studies done to be a veterinarian. She's not quitting her day job just yet as she leads here in her first appearance in New York at the Armory, trying to win this historic Wanamaker mile as the pace setter Lipsy steps off the track, and now Muir driving from the front.
And look at that half-mile split, 2:08:36. This is extremely fast. This actually isn't the pace that was prescribed at the beginning of the meet, but Muir has decided to go with it, and she has opened up on the chase pack. This is what she does so well. She's not afraid to go out there and hammer, but we see Andrews realize, I have to go with her, and she snuck up to get behind her.
It was such a big year for Andrews last year, making her first U.S. team, rhyming with confidence now as she goes up against Muir here with 3 laps to run.
Well, I saw Andrews yesterday, and she joked that she and her on teammates were going to take the top 3. She is confident. She knows who she is. She knows the training she's put in, and she has run very well here.
And Herta-Klecker, her teammate, now moving up into the top 4. She's behind Stafford. Then it's Andrews in second, and Muir still in the lead. Just over 3 minutes run in this Wanamaker mile.
And let's keep an eye on Herta-Klecker. She was third at the Diamond League final in the 800.
And to the lead goes Andrews. Stafford goes by Muir. New leaders here in the mile with 2 laps to go.
Well, this is interesting, Paul. She decided not to wait till that last lap. She's feeling so good and composed, she decided to go now. And Muir now finds herself in 3rd place. And Stafford, with that big American Northern American record just a couple weeks ago, needs to staple herself to Andrews, but Andrews is just pulling away.
Well, and what a great moment for the Andrews clan, as Robbie, her husband, was pacing a mile earlier in the day. So 2 Andrews have had leads today. Can this Andrews hold off Laura Muir as the bell sounds?
Andrews looks great, but Laura Muir is Laura Muir for a reason. She is fighting back. She does not want to lose. She wants to be the best 1,500-meter runner in the world, and that means you have to run and win even when you're hurting.
And there comes the gear shift by Laura Muir. Andrews trying to respond, but running out of real estate as they come off the final turn. Laura Muir with the lead. And Laura Muir in her first appearance in the Armory is a first-time Wanamaker mile winner.
Laura Muir is so darn tough, Paul. That is why she's a world championship bronze medalist and Olympic silver medalist. She knows how to dig in a way that other people don't know how. She goes out there, she leads. I mean, look at her right now. She's not just jumping around. She went to the well to get this victory. It's very, very impressive and tough stuff. We saw here, Andrews thought, maybe I've gotten her, maybe I timed it just right, but Muir was not going to be denied. And we don't always see her fighting through in the end like this because we're used to seeing her out front. But here she really gathered her composure and she just went so hard. You can see it on her face. You can see the way she's pumping through in her arms. She wanted this, and she had to dig so deep to get it.
And another look from head on. And that facial expression, really just the manifestation of what we see Laura Muir racing each and every time. gritty, gutsy, and usually in front. Well, pretty successful trip to the United States for Laura Muir. She wins in Boston and now comes down to New York and now has both the street mile record, and no, that's not the Stanley Cup, that is the Wanamaker Trophy, and Laura Muir may need to pay for some extra baggage on her way home. Back at the Armory, there is the new Rudin Wanamaker Mile champion for the women, Laura Muir, with her trophy and with Lewis Johnson.
And how about the toughness to not only win this race, but to hold this heavy trophy? Laura, your first Wanamaker, did it live up to everything you expected?
Oh, yeah, it was amazing. I mean, when I walked out on the track there, the reception from the crowd was fantastic, you know, even though I'm a bit far from home, so yeah, thanks to the crowd, it was fantastic, yeah.
Help us all understand your attack mentality from the start, and then you were all of a sudden in second, third place, and then to get back to win this race.
Yeah, I mean, we went out quite fast, and I thought, I don't know if I can hold this the whole way and drag everybody around, so I thought, ease off a bit. A couple of the girls passed, and I thought I'd just stay on them. And then that last lap, I was like, I've not done all this work for nothing. So, yeah, I knew I'd be strong that last bit. So I just had to keep calm and keep my composure when they passed, and hopefully come back around, which I did.
Enjoying this moment here at Millrose in New York, holding that beautiful trophy. Does this mean we might see you back here next year?
I hope so. Yeah, no, I mean, I didn't realize I signed up for a weight session after it. But yeah, no, this is amazing. I've never won anything as grand as this before. So yeah, it's my first time, and I've loved it. I hope I can come back.
Awesome. Congratulations on a tremendous win here in New York.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Still behind Kara Goucher in overall victories in the Wanamaker, but again, fitting company for you.
Oh, absolutely. This was one of the highlights of my career, was coming to Millrose Games and winning the mile 2 times. And it's just crazy to watch how the race has evolved, especially on the women's level. And it's just really a treat to be able to watch these right now.
Well, if that women's Wanamaker mile was the opening act, here comes the main course and the reigning champion, Ollie Hoare. Ready to do something special, Kara?
That's what we hear, Paul. That's what we hear. Ollie Hoare is in such good shape. He's been more of a pacer and helping out his teammates in different races, but he had said this is what his eye was on the whole winter, was coming here, defending his title here, but also perhaps snagging a world record in the process.
And you talk about teammates. It's an interesting setup because it's different nationalities. And here's Yared Nuguse, fresh off an American record at 3,000 meters.
And you know what's interesting about that is that we saw Nuguse run that amazing 7:28, 3,000 meters, but he said he was more confident that he could go after the mile record of 3:49 of Bernard Lagat. So we will be watching to see if an American record falls.
And next to them, another teammate, Mario Garcia-Romo.
Garcia-Romo had an incredible race at the World Championships with a huge personal best to run into 4th place in the final. All 3 of these men are capable of winning this.
Don't false start in a Wanamaker mile. That's the one thing you don't want to do here, and it's going to be a special race. Only 7 men in history have broken 3:50 indoors in the mile, and 18 years to the day that Bernard Lagat broke the American record. Yared Nuguse is the top American going after that mark, and maybe Ollie Hoare going after something even more special. As they get to racing, the guy they go to as the man to set the pace in these distance races is the 800-meter specialist Eric Sawinski.
And, you know, this is interesting, Paul. We see all 3 men that train together out front together. This is how they train. They're used to being with each other. They're used to chasing each other. But at the same time, they know each other's weaknesses. They know where each one struggles. And at this point, they've decided to just go out as a team and dominate this effort.
And have broken away from the group. Neil Gorley, who won last week in Boston, now trying to get back in within contact of Nuguse. Sam Tanner, who just got beat by Gorley at the line. The New Zealander also trying to get back in the mix, but it is very swift here early on in the Wanamaker mile.
It is very swift, and that's why we see such a strung-out race only a little over a quarter of a mile into this race. It is so strung out already, and Garcia-Romo has decided he is just going to attach himself to Sawinski and get dragged out here. As some point, Sawinski's going to step off, and someone's going to have to do the work. But they want to take advantage of him as long as possible.
Garcia-Romo was the runner-up for Ole Miss at 1,500 meters in last year's NCAA championship, and now chasing down the backstretch with Sawinski. Hoare is going to get on a plane tomorrow to fly to Australia to compete in the World Cross Country Championships in the team event. Would like to have that trophy maybe in his check-in luggage as he goes overseas. Meantime, Nuguse in the mix, then Gorley, Tanner, Eric Holt, and Josh Thompson as they come through as designed. 1:53 or so at the half mile.
That couldn't have been more perfect pacing to take them through the halfway point. And we see Hoare, he seems a little antsy. He's floating out into lane 2 a little bit. It's almost as if he doesn't want to chop his stride, but he's not ready to go quite yet. This is such an incredible race out of all of these men. And again, we could see multiple records fall. So
this is the key, Kara. What happens now for the leaders when they lose the pace setter Sawinski? It's their race now. Garcia-Romo, Hoare, and Nuguse, the 3 teammates with 3 laps to go.
And, you know, Ollie Hoare has a little Laura Muir in him. He is not afraid to go to the front. He is not afraid to do the work, put that target on his back and push, push, push. And we see him now slowly moving on the outside. I think he's probably going to slip in and see if he can power away over the next 2 laps. But Nuguse has decided he is going to go with him.
You can be teammates on most days wearing the same uniform, but when you're in a race for the Wanamaker Trophy, you're no longer teammates. And now Nuguse moves to the lead.
And Nuguse is moving up. He has that record, 3:49. He wants to get that. That is in his sights, and he knows he's right on pace right now. And this is very interesting. He's decided, I'm going to take it. I'm going to pull myself and my teammate forward because I do not want to fall off this pace.
And Gorley back there in 3rd against the New Balance winner a week ago. The native of Scotland was an All-American at Virginia Tech. Going up against Hoare and Nuguse, the American, a lap away from taking down a Wanamaker mile and going after Bernard Lagat's record in the last lap of this Wanamaker.
And this is what makes Nuguse so dangerous. He looks so relaxed. You can't tell that he just picked up the pace and ratcheted it up. And look at the dominance of this.
We talked about the American record, 3:49.89. But look at that world record down in the lower right of your screen. 3:47.01. Yared Nuguse. A new American record.
What a race out of Nuguse. You know, he was injured in the outdoor season. We didn't see him until the end of the season, but he has just put his name on the map to look for this year with an American record in the 3,000, now a big American record in the mile. And remember who he's taking that from, the legendary Bernard Lagat. This is an Olympic medalist, a world champion. This is big.
Second fastest time in history, only behind Yamif Kajelch's 3:47.01. Let's look at this last stretch of the race.
And see how high his feet are coming up in the back. That's where he's getting that power. That is making his stride so big and fluid. He is so flexible in this moment, and that is how he is powering away. It doesn't look like he's necessarily sprinting because he's so calm, but he is moving so quickly with that high back kick through the line.
And how about for the OAC teammates? Garcia-Romo, new national record, finishing in 5th. Ollie Hoare equals his national record in 3rd, and Yared Nuguse, a new American record. He needs 8 more Wanamaker wins to pass Bernard Lagat, but makes history 18 years to the day.
I mean, what a way to run your first Wanamaker mile, to win it, and to win it in American record style. This is a huge day for him. This cements his legacy, and this is very, very exciting for him as he moves forward in his career.